Hello students, welcome to this module, which is part 3 in the series on Rayleigh-Taylor instability. Let me briefly recap the steps that we had done so far so that it is easy for you to follow the rest of this module. And here what I would like to inform you or remind you of is that we had written down the kinematic condition as follows: partial eta partial t is partial phi 1 by partial x minus partial eta by partial x plus partial phi 1 by partial y. Okay, now again this is to be evaluated at, remember that eta is the perturbed interface, this is the xy coordinate frame, and y is equal to eta of xt is basically the location of the perturbed interface at y is equal to eta. Okay, and similarly for the second fluid also you have partial eta partial t is partial phi 2 by partial x minus partial eta partial x plus partial phi 2 by partial y. Okay, so these are the two velocity continuity conditions from the kinematic condition. And for the stresses we had, after remember we are looking at potential flow approximation, so V is written as gradient of phi, and there are two fluids 1 and 2, so Vi is gradient of phi I going from 1 and 2. This is the fluid label. Okay, now we also had P1 minus P2 is equal to minus gamma times partial squared eta by partial x squared by 1 plus partial eta by partial x the whole squared to the power half. Okay, now we have to now linearize all this. All this has to be evaluated or applied at y is equal to eta of xt. Now we have to make an important simplification, that is, let's say this is y equal to 0, this is the unperturbed interface, and let's say that this is the perturbed interface, y is equal to eta of xt. Now the location of this perturbed interface is unknown a priori because we don't know the location, because it evolves due to the fact that there are perturbations in the system, so we do not know where it is. Okay, so what we have to do in order to apply boundary conditions is that we do what is called a linearization using Taylor expansion. Linearization using Taylor expansion about y equal to 0. Okay, so what any quantity, for example f evaluated at y is equal to eta, is written as f evaluated at y equal to 0 plus df dy evaluated at y is equal to 0 times eta, let's call it eta prime to denote that it is a perturbation, right, plus so on. And remember that f itself will have both base state plus perturbations, because okay, f is f bar plus f prime, right? Sorry. Okay, so this is f bar at y equal to 0 plus f prime at y is equal to 0 plus df bar by dy at y is equal to 0 times eta prime plus df prime by dy at y is equal to 0 times eta prime plus higher order terms. Now of this expansion, Taylor expansion, this is the base state contribution. This will usually cancel with something else in the problem. Okay, so this is this won't be there. This will be there because it's first order in perturbation. This term will also be there, it's also first order in perturbation, whereas this term won't be there because it is non-linear. It won't be there in a linear stability analysis. Okay, so this is how one Taylor expands the boundary conditions about the known unperturbed location. Okay, so let's take the case of the velocity condition. Okay, so we had partial eta, sorry about this, we had partial eta partial t is equal to partial phi 1 by partial x minus partial eta by partial x plus partial phi 1 by partial y. Okay, this is something that we had. Now this, let's call it eta prime. Now when you do a linearization, okay, we do a linearization in the base state the velocities are 0, so the base state velocity perturbations the velocity potential is 0. So if I were to linearize, this is 0 and this will be non-zero because eta is a perturbation quantity, okay, but it is multiplied by 0, so this is not going to contribute. Okay, this is not going to contribute in this problem. Okay, so essentially what you will have after linearizing is partial eta prime by partial t is equal to, at y equal to 0, is partial phi 1 prime by partial y at y equal to 0. Okay, so at y equal to 0, now I'm going to put eta t, eta prime of x y t as eta cap e to the I k x times e to the minus I omega t. This is the method of normal modes, right? So when I do this for this expression, I'll get minus I omega eta cap is equal to partial, now the partials will become ordinary, d phi 1 by dy at y equal to 0, and similarly minus I omega eta cap is d phi 2 by dy again at y equal to 0. Okay, these are all linearized about the unperturbed interfacial location. Okay, now so these are the two velocity continuity conditions. Now let's look at the normal stress boundary condition, which is P1 minus P2 is equal to minus partial squared eta prime by partial x squared divided by 1 plus partial eta prime by partial x whole squared to the half. Okay, now remember that P is base state plus perturbation, so we have to write this. Okay, now the first thing that you should notice is that this is nonlinear term 1 plus a nonlinear term, so within the linear stability analysis this is approximated as 1. Okay, so you can afford to just write the denominator as 1 within the linear stability analysis, just to make our algebra simple. You can formally linearize this using Bernoulli's expansion, and you will still find that this is after you linearize you will just get 1. Okay, so what you will get is minus partial squared eta prime by partial x squared. Now I have to Taylor expand about, now this has to be evaluated at y is equal to eta. Now Taylor expand about y equal to 0. Okay, so this will give you, now one thing that we know already, that P1 bar is P0 minus rho 1 gy plus P1 prime minus, okay, P2 bar is P0 and then there is another negative, so that becomes rho 2 gy minus P2 prime is equal to minus partial squared eta prime by partial x squared. I have still not Taylor expanded, so let me just, okay, I have not yet Taylor expanded. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so I'm going to Taylor expand just now. I'm merely rewriting all the base state terms, base state pressures. So let's cancel terms. P0 cancels with minus P0 and you are left with just this, right? And this is all at y is equal to eta. Now let's Taylor expand about y equal to 0. P1 prime is P1 prime 0 Okay, now the next term plus dp1 prime by dy y equal to 0 times eta prime is there, but that's a non-linear term. Okay, so it's not present in a linear stability analysis. Now this term has to be Taylor expanded again. Okay, this is already linear in if I put y is equal to eta prime, it's already linear, but if you had something more complex, a non-linear term, you may have to Taylor expand. So let's follow the procedure. So this is this evaluated at y equal to 0, which is 0, minus d dy of rho 1 g y evaluated at y equal to 0 times eta prime. Similarly, plus this evaluated at y equal to 0 is 0, and then the derivative rho 2 g y evaluated at y equal to 0 times eta prime minus p2 of prime of 0. Okay, all this is equal to the right side minus partial squared eta prime by partial x squared, sorry, this should be x squared, and this is evaluated at y equal to 0 because it's already a perturbation quantity. If I Taylor expand it about y equal to 0, you will get at y equal to 0 but higher order terms which are non-linear. Now the derivative of this is simply minus rho 1g, this is rho 2g, and so what you will have therefore is p1 prime minus rho 1 g eta prime minus p2 prime minus rho 2 g eta prime is equal to minus partial squared eta prime by partial x squared. This is now evaluated at y equal to 0 because now we have Taylor expanded and linearized. Now I'm going to substitute the normal mode expansion. P1 prime is p1 cap e to the I k x e to the minus I omega t and so on. Then I will get p1 cap and then similarly eta prime is eta cap e to the I k x e to the minus I omega t and so on, right? So rho 1 g eta cap minus p2 cap minus rho 2 g eta cap is equal to, there is already a negative, and if I take second derivative of eta prime, I'll pick up ik times ik, which is minus k squared times eta cap. Okay, so this is the normal stress balance. Now if you remember the governing equation for velocity potentials in both the fluids, we had a very simple potential flow equation. So that you had partial squared phi j by partial x squared plus partial squared phi j by partial y squared is 0. If I impose the Fourier modes, I'll get partial squared phi j, let's put perturbations, is equal to 0. So phi j cap of y is some aj e to the, so here j goes from 1 to 2 for the two fluids, aj e to the minus ky plus bj e to the ky, j going from 1 to 2. Now the BCs, the boundary conditions, as y goes to plus or minus infinity, is that it will mean as y goes to plus infinity, right, you don't want this term to blow up, so 2 is above and 1 is below. This is 1, this is 2, and this is y. As y goes to plus infinity, this term decays, but this term blows up, so b2 is 0. And as y goes to minus infinity, this term decays, this term blows up, so a1 is 0, right? And that's how these boundary conditions are fixed. And the next step is, so we write phi 1 of y is nothing but b1 e to the minus ky, phi 2 of y is a2 e to the plus ky. These are the two solutions. Now the interface boundary conditions are I omega eta prime plus k b1 is 0, I omega eta cap minus k a2 is 0. Where is this coming from? This is coming from merely these two conditions, right? We are simply using the derivative with respect to y, and if I do the derivative I will get these terms. Okay, alright, so now so now what you can say is that B1 is minus I omega by k eta prime, A2 is plus I omega by k eta prime. Okay, now all I have to do is substitute all of this in the normal stress balance, the linearized normal stress balance, and the linearized normal stress balance is here, but in order to get here I need to get the value for pressure, right? I need to get the value for pressure, and the pressure is related to the velocities. In the previous module we had discussed that the pressure is related to the velocities via the Bernoulli equation. Alright, so what we found was that rho j partial phi j partial t plus half rho j del phi j plus pj is equal to 0. This is the after subtracting the perturbations, so the base state from the total Bernoulli equation. This is what we wrote for the pressure equation. Alright, so what you will have to do is linearize this again. When you linearize this, you will find that these terms are 0, these are non-linear. So the pressure Pj is minus rho j partial phi j prime by partial t, and if I do the Fourier mode representation, Pj cap is minus rho j, okay, and then minus I omega phi j cap. The minus minus cancels, so I omega rho j phi j cap is the pressure in each of the fluids. After you apply the normal mode form, this is what you will get for the pressure in the individual fluids. Okay, so now what you have to do is to substitute this back in the pressure equation, the normal stress balance, that is, which is here. Okay, you have to substitute P1, and we had done this here, so this equation. So if you want, I can highlight this equation. You have to substitute P1 cap. Instead of eta cap, we have to substitute in terms of B1 and B2. Instead of Pj cap, we have everything in terms of phi j, and we know what are phis, right? So if you substitute all this in this normal stress balance, which I have marked here, I'm sorry, here. Okay, here everything is known. Eta cap is known in terms of potentials, pressures are known in terms of potentials. So if I do that, what I'll end up getting, sorry about this, okay, what I'll end up getting is minus I rho 1 omega minus I omega by k. Okay, P1, let's P cap 1 is I omega rho 1 phi 1. Okay, and we have to now know what is phi 1. Okay, and that is this, right? And I'm going to write everything in terms of eta. Okay, so instead of, so phi 1 is B1, and you have to evaluate at y equal to 0, simply B1, but instead of B1 I'll write minus I omega by k eta, right? So plus I rho 2 omega I omega by k plus rho 1 minus rho 2 g is equal to minus k squared gamma. Okay, now what I'm doing is essentially I'm taking this equation. Okay, I'm taking this equation, and all I'm doing is I'm substituting all these terms for P1, and in P1 I'm substituting in terms of phi1, but phi1 I'm writing in terms of eta using these boundary conditions. Instead of phi1 I'll get b1, phi2 I'll get a2, but I know b1 and a2 in terms of eta, so I write everything and cancel eta right through. Okay, then I will get this, right? And remember that 1 is here, 2 is here, and gravity is acting like this. Okay, now once you do this, I'll get minus omega squared by k rho 1 plus rho 2. I'm just simplifying this expression, plus rho 1 minus rho 2 g is equal to minus k squared gamma, or omega squared rho 1 plus rho 2 minus rho 1 minus rho 2 gk plus k cube gamma is 0. Now of course this is a quadratic for omega, so if rho 1 is greater than rho 2, you know that it's a stable case because this light fluid over a heavy fluid, and this is stable configuration. In this case, omega squared is given by 1 by rho 1 plus rho 2 rho 1 minus rho 2 plus k cube gamma. Okay, so this everything is positive because this is greater than 0, so omega is purely real. Omega squared is positive, omega is real. Okay, now we can define the capillary length as gamma by g rho 2 minus rho 1, the absolute value of the density. Then omega squared is defined as, so if I pull out rho 1 minus rho 2 and write gk, okay, I'm sorry, I have to write gk here. If I pull out rho 1 minus rho 2 times gk, there is already a rho 1 plus rho 2 here. Let me write that. Then I will get 1 plus k squared gamma by g rho 1 minus rho 2. Now gamma by rho 1 minus rho 2 is LC squared. Sorry, gamma by g rho 1 by rho 2 is LC squared. So I'll get omega squared. Let me take a new page. I'll get omega squared is rho 1 minus rho 2 by rho 1 plus rho 2 times gk times 1 plus klc the whole square. What is this? This is the Atwood number that we introduced last time. So omega squared is AT, the Atwood number, square root of gk times 1 plus klc the whole square, or omega is plus or minus square root of AT square root of gk 1 plus klc the whole square to the half. Okay, so let's consider these are the stable oscillations that you will find in the absence of any viscosity. If you have a heavy fluid 1 over a light fluid, light fluid 1 over a heavy, light fluid 2 over a heavy fluid 1, then if there are some disturbances, in the absence of viscosity, they'll keep oscillating. There is no damping of these fluctuations. Okay, so let's consider the limit KLC going to 0. Okay, then this term gets dropped out compared to this. So omega is approximately plus or minus square root of Atwood number times gk. Surface tension drops out of the frequency of oscillations. These are called surface gravity waves. These are caused purely by a competition between the inertia of the system and the gravity, which is acting as a stabilizing agent. Okay, so there are just pure oscillations because you have no viscosity in the system now. In the opposite limit of KLC large compared to 1, so when KLC is small compared to 1, what this means is you consider limit of long waves. that is k is inversely proportional to the wavelength. So when KLC is tending to 0, we have LC by lambda tending to 0, that is the wavelength of the perturbations is large compared to the capillary length scale. In the opposite limit, the wavelength of the perturbation is very small compared to these are short waves. Long and short waves always we have to refer it compared to a length scale. So in this particular case, it is the capillary length which is the length scale. In this case, if you look at this relation, this is sometimes called the dispersion relation. It tells you how the frequency changes as a function of wave number or wavelength. Now when KLC is large compared to 1, you neglect 1 compared to KLC, then you will get omega is plus or minus square root of Atwood number times square root of GK times KCLC. Now if you substitute the expression for LC, the capillary length, okay, then you will get omega is plus or minus square root of AT times K to the 3 halves gamma to the half. Okay, so this is divided by, okay, so this is how the frequency of oscillation changes when for very short length scales. These are called capillary waves. Okay, now so omega is purely real, and because we are considering the stable configuration. Now let's look at the unstable configuration. If rho 1 is less than rho 2, and this is 1, 2, gravity like this. So now heavier fluid is above a lighter fluid. This is an unstable configuration. Okay, so you have the dispersion relation. Now I'll rewrite it, because this is positive. Okay, GK minus K cube gamma is 0. So if I write the solution, I'll get omega squared is minus K rho 2 minus rho 1 by rho 1 plus rho 2 times 1 minus K squared LC squared. Okay, now if KLC is very small, it tends to 0, and if you remember, omega squared is minus K times rho 2 minus rho 1 by rho 1 plus rho 2 times G. This is approximately what is omega for very long waves. So, and then what you have is omega. If I take the square root, this is negative. Omega squared is negative, means omega is plus or minus I times K rho 2 minus rho 1 by rho 1 plus rho 2 times G to the half. So we had imposed perturbations of the form e to the minus omega t. If omega is purely real, then it represents pure oscillation. If omega is imaginary, right, let's say omega is I times omega I, so I'll write I omega I t, then I squared is minus 1, so it becomes e to the omega I t. If omega I, the imaginary part is positive, right? Imaginary part has both positive and negative. They are complex conjugates, so definitely there is a positive imaginary part. That means exponentially growing disturbances. Okay, so this is the idea of how we calculate the dispersion relation. Of course, if you look at the opposite limit from the same dispersion relation, if KLC is large compared to 1, then the negative cancels, and then so let's go to the, okay, if KLC is very large compared to 1, then what we can say is omega squared is approximately, again it becomes K cubed LC squared times rho 2 minus rho 1 G by rho 1 plus rho 2. Okay, so it again becomes like capillary waves. These are stable. Okay, So only wavelengths, only lambda greater than LC approximately, such wavelengths are unstable, and when lambda less than LC, surface tension stabilizes this, even though you have rho 2 is greater than rho 1. So you need a sufficiently large wavelength, and how large is that sufficiently large? Well, it should be large compared to the capillary length scale LC. Okay. Now, what about confining walls? We said that we are considering semi-infinite fluids. In reality, there will always be some boundary. This is the interface. These are the confining walls. Okay. Now, only if for sufficiently large wavelengths, okay, if let's say this is the distance between the interface, only for lambda order h will the effect of the walls be felt. For lambda much small compared to h, then the effect of walls will not be felt. Okay, so only growth rates of very small large wavelengths or small wave numbers will be affected by these confining walls. For very small wavelengths compared to h, you will not have the effect of confining walls. Okay, and the effect of viscosity, which we neglected. Okay, we considered inviscid fluids, and the effect of viscosity is also seen only for large k, while the effect of confining walls is seen for small k, that is kh small compared to 1. Okay, right? But the effect of viscosity is seen for large k, because when you have large short wavelength fluctuations, this leads to large dissipation, viscous dissipation, and viscosity becomes important. But for sufficiently long wavelengths, viscosity is not so important, it is subdominant. Okay, so this is the analysis of the Rayleigh Taylor instability, and the Rayleigh Taylor instability is not just seen for the case of heavier fluid on top of a lighter fluid. Even in the case of strongly accelerated interface, here gravity plays a minor role, and the acceleration of the reference frame of the interface plays the role of acceleration due to gravity. And there again you can see that a version of Rayleigh Taylor instability will be present. Okay, I'll stop here for this module. In the next module, I'll start with Kelvin-Helmholtz instability, which is for two sharing flowing fluids, but again in the inviscid limit. Until then, thank you.